In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 NBA games happening on March 5th, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Detroit Pistons versus San Antonio Spurs. The Detroit Pistons head into Frost Bank Arena to face the San Antonio Spurs on Thursday night, and it has that big game feel already. Detroit comes in on a strong stretch, having just beaten the Magic, dropped one to the Cavs, and with the Nets waiting for them next on the schedule. They have stacked wins lately, taking 17 of their last 22 games, which is not what you see from a middling group. That is the profile of a heater. San Antonio's recent form is nearly as impressive, with a win over the 76ers, a loss to the Knicks, and a date with the Clippers coming up right after this one. They have taken 17 of their last 21, so they are not exactly sneaking up on anyone either. Detroit has no players listed on the injury report, which is a quiet blessing in a long season, especially when the games start to stack up. San Antonio, on the other side, has already ruled out Harrison Barnes, Mason Plumlee, and David Jones-Garcia, and even if none of them is a headliner, missing rotation bodies still matters over 4 quarters. The Spurs will usually be the side that gets the respect at home, and in a spot like this, it can feel uncomfortable to go against them because home courts like theirs tend to be baked into the public mindset. Let me explain. It is easy to talk yourself into the familiar story of a strong home squad rolling again, and it is not crazy at all, given how they have been playing. The tricky part is that Detroit is arguably the best team in the league right now, and they simply are not in the underdog role very often. When they do get points, they have treated it like a challenge, and the numbers tell that story pretty loudly. They are 9-0 against the spread and straight up in their last 9 games as an underdog, which means not only are they covering, they are winning outright every single time in that stretch. They are also 11-1 straight up in their last 12 as a dog, so this is not some tiny blip, it is a pattern. Those wins as an underdog have not been squeakers either. They have been comfortable enough to make you regret fading them if you tried. Leaving points on the table with a top-tier team feels careless, and Detroit fits that top-tier label right now given how they have been closing out these spots. Honestly, when you have a group this confident and this healthy, catching points can feel like found value, even if it makes you a little uneasy going against the home favorite. As our first pick for this matchup, the Detroit Pistons to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Detroit is averaging 117.4 points on 7.9% shooting and giving up 109.5 points on 44% shooting, which shows a clear gap between what they score and what they allow. They are hitting 34.9% from 3 and 75.7% at the free throw line. Solid enough numbers that keep the scoreboard moving even on nights when the jumpers are not completely falling. They are also pulling down 46 rebounds per game, which quietly matters when you are trying to control tempo and limit second chance points on both ends. San Antonio is averaging 118.5 points on 47.8% shooting and allowing 111.9 points on 45.3% shooting, so they play in a similar lane, with strong scoring and a defense that bends but does not totally break. From deep, they are at 35%, slightly ahead, and at the line they sit at 78.4%, which helps them cash in late in close games or when whistles start piling up. They are grabbing 46.7 rebounds per game, matching Detroit's presence on the glass and hinting that extra possessions will likely be balanced out more than skewed. Here's the thing, both teams clearly have the firepower to push games into high-scoring territory, but their defensive numbers are not sloppy, and the rebound totals suggest fewer chaotic, extended possessions and more controlled trips. When two teams can both score and also hold opponents to respectable shooting percentages, you often get stretches where offenses cool off and every possession turns into a bit of a grind. In a spot like this, where both sides are familiar with playing at a high level and understand how to manage runs, it would not be surprising to see the scoring settle into a more measured rhythm rather than turning into a track meet from start to finish. The shooting percentages and defensive marks, along with the rebounding balance, lean toward a game that feels competitive and intense but does not completely explode on the scoreboard. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Chicago Bulls versus Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns welcome the Chicago Bulls to Mortgage Matchup Center on Thursday night, and it feels like two teams arriving from very different emotional places. Chicago just took a rough loss to the Thunder, then turned around and upset the Bucks, and now has the Kings lined up next, which is a brutal little stretch when you are already struggling. The bigger story with the Bulls is that they have dropped 12 of their last 13, so even their rare bright spots feel more like flickers than a real surge. Phoenix, on the other hand, is coming off wins over the Lakers and the Kings, with the Pelicans on deck, so their schedule is not exactly soft either. Still, the Suns have lost 6 of their last 10, so they are nowhere near their confident peak, more like a talented group trying to steady the ship. Injuries are leaning heavily against Chicago here. The Bulls are still missing Patrick Williams, Zach Collins, and Jalen Smith, and on top of that, Matisse Buzelis and Josh Giddey are both listed as questionable, which starts to feel like trying to plug holes in a roster with duct tape. The Suns are not perfectly healthy either, as they have ruled out Mark Williams, Dylan Brooks, and Jordan Goodwin again, but their core firepower is still intact enough to tilt the balance. These teams have not faced each other yet this season, so there is no direct game tape to lean on, but the context is pretty loud anyway. Chicago looks like a clear underdog given the losing streak and the long injury list, and even that statement might be kind. Honestly, the Bulls give off that season is already gone vibe right now, while Phoenix, for all its flaws, still has expectations to live up to and weapons that can flip a game quickly. The Suns might be a little banged up, but they still have far more reliable scoring and creation than this short-handed Bulls squad, especially if Giddey ends up on the sideline, which would strip Chicago of another ball handler and playmaker. In a setting like this, with a home crowd, a superior talent base, and an opponent that has been stumbling for weeks, Phoenix is the side that has both the higher floor and the higher ceiling. As our first pick for this matchup, the Phoenix Suns to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Bulls look like they are in full tank mode as they head into Phoenix, sitting at a ridiculous 1-12 in their last 13 games and with only a single road win since January 22nd. The funny part is that even with that context, it still feels risky to trust Phoenix to run away with some huge scoring show because they have not exactly been lighting the league on fire lately either. That is why shifting focus to how this game flows makes a lot of sense. Chicago has been held under 100 points twice in its last 5 outings, which tells you plenty about how limited the offense can look. At the same time, they are not just rolling over defensively. Milwaukee, for example, managed only 97 points against them on Sunday, so the Bulls are still competing on that end, even if the scoreboard usually goes against them. On Thursday, Chicago could be missing a big chunk of its scoring core again. Jalen Smith is listed as doubtful, while Matisse Buzelis and Josh Giddey are questionable, and that is potentially 3 starters stuck on the bench. Add in that Jaden Ivey and Patrick Williams are out, and suddenly you are talking about a rotation that has to rely heavily on secondary options, role players, and whoever happens to be feeling it that night. Games like that often lean toward grindy, low-rhythm basketball rather than free-flowing highlights. Pace is another major clue here. Phoenix ranks 25th in pace this season at 101.3 possessions per game, which already points to a slower style. Over its last 3 outings, that number has dropped to an anemic 92.3 possessions per game, the slowest tempo in the league by a wide margin, which feels almost old school in an era of constant transition and quick threes. Chicago generally prefers to play faster, but given how short-handed the Bulls might be, there is every reason to think they will happily slow things down and match Phoenix's methodical tempo just to survive the minutes. Phoenix has also gone 7 straight games without scoring more than 114 points, so their offense has been more steady than explosive lately. 2 of their last 4 contests have finished with no more than 178 total points, which fits the picture of a team playing grinding, possession-heavy basketball instead of chaotic track meets. The trends are pretty clear on both sides, too. The under is 5-0 in the Bulls' last 5 overall and 4-0 in the Suns' last 4, so recent form keeps pointing in the same direction rather than sending mixed signals. Here is the thing, when you combine a slow pace, a potentially depleted Chicago lineup, a Phoenix offense that has not been blowing past its recent scoring ceiling, and both teams quietly grinding on defense, it sets up for a lower scoring environment where each bucket feels a little more labored. You can easily picture long half-court possessions, late shot clock looks, and stretches where neither side really catches fire. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Los Angeles Lakers versus Denver Nuggets. The Los Angeles Lakers head to Ball Arena to take on the Denver Nuggets on Thursday night. Los Angeles comes in with some real momentum, having taken care of the Pelicans and the Kings, and with a matchup against the Pacers on deck. The Lakers have quietly put together a solid stretch, winning 13 of their last 21 games, which at least gives them a bit of confidence walking into a tough building. Denver, on the other hand, has been wobbling a bit. The Nuggets recently fell to the Timberwolves, picked up a win over the Jazz, and have the Knicks lined up next. They have dropped 3 of their last 5, which explains why the vibe around them feels a little more uneasy than usual for a team with serious expectations. The Lakers could be slightly short-handed, with Maxi Kleber being monitored as questionable, so there is a small cloud of uncertainty around their rotation. The Nuggets have already ruled out Spencer Jones, while Cameron Johnson is listed as questionable, so they are not exactly at full strength either. It is not a full-blown injury crisis for either side, but there is enough going on to make the bench pieces matter a bit more than usual. Optimism has crept back into the Lakers' locker room after 3 straight wins, and that matters for confidence, even if it does not fix every flaw overnight. That renewed belief gets a real stress test in Denver, as this will be their second clash with the Nuggets this season at Ball Arena. Los Angeles won the first meeting back in January in this same arena, but that result came with a pretty huge asterisk because Nikola Jokic was not available for Denver. With Jokic back in the mix now, the picture looks very different. The Lakers come in as underdogs, which signals that the odds makers still see Denver as the slightly stronger side in this spot, even if they also expect a competitive game. A big swing factor for Los Angeles is DeAndre Ayton, who has taken plenty of criticism lately. After back-to-back games in double figures scoring, expectations for him in this matchup are high, and honestly, they need him to play with real presence on both ends. For Denver, the stretch after the All-Star break has been more frustrating than inspiring. They have gone 3-4 straight up in 7 games without managing to stack consecutive wins. Jamal Murray erupted for 45 points and 8 assists in the recent win over the Jazz in what turned into an unusually high-scoring game. That kind of outburst reminds everyone how dangerous their offense is when he is rolling, but it also quietly highlights that Denver's problem lately has not been putting the ball in the hoop. The real concern has been their defense. The Nuggets are allowing 114.4 points per 100 possessions, which actually puts them behind the Lakers on that side of the ball and has left them only half a game ahead in the standings. This drop-off defensively is not a minor thing for a team with big ambitions, especially with only about 20 regular season games left to tighten things up. Getting Aaron Gordon back will help stabilize things, but until he is officially back on the floor, Denver has to survive with a slightly patched-up version of its usual defensive identity. It is still tough to picture the Lakers walking into Ball Arena and beating these Nuggets in back-to-back games in the same building, especially now that Jokic is in the lineup. The 3-time MVP has dominated this matchup historically, averaging 27.4 points, 13.7 rebounds, and 8.8 assists in the last 10 meetings. He has recorded 3 triple-doubles in the last 7 of those games and has been on the winning end 8 times in that 10-game stretch, which is a pretty loud statement. The Lakers have done a respectable job of staying afloat, even without consistently playing their best basketball. They did beat the Nuggets 115-107 back on January 20th, which proves they are capable of rising to the occasion when things line up for them. At the same time, both teams have felt a bit untrustworthy at different points this season, which makes this matchup as much about which version of each team shows up mentally as it is about pure talent. The points with the Lakers are tempting on paper, especially with them being close to full strength and looking more confident recently. Denver, though, has that familiar home court reliability, and they are starting to trend toward being healthier again, with the expectation that Aaron Gordon returns tomorrow. There is also a very real revenge angle after that home loss to Los Angeles in late January. And in spots like that, the more stable team usually leans into the focus advantage. Night to night, it is still hard to fully trust the Lakers against high-level opponents, especially when the margin for error shrinks on the road. Given all of that, Denver feels more likely to handle business and cover in this setting. As our first pick for this matchup, the Denver Nuggets to win and cover the spread of favorites is our full game side pick. The Lakers are averaging 115.5 points on 49.8% shooting while allowing 115.9 points on 48.6% shooting. And they are hitting 35.2% of their threes and 76.9% at the free throw line, while giving up 36.5% from deep to opponents and pulling in 40.8 rebounds per game. The Nuggets, by comparison, are putting up 120.3 points on 49.2% shooting and allowing 116 points on 46.7% shooting. They are connecting on 39.2% of their shots from beyond the arc and 80.5% at the line, while holding opponents to 35% from three and grabbing 43.4 rebounds per contest. On the surface, those numbers hint at a game where both offenses can score efficiently and both teams have enough shooting to stretch the floor. Here is the thing, though, the context around those numbers matters. Denver's recent issues have been framed around defensive slippage, but with their coaching staff and veteran core, there is usually a response after that kind of stretch, especially at home. When a team has been leaking points and still has playoff-level expectations, the natural reaction is to tighten the screws, slow some possessions down, and make sure the game does not turn into a track meet every single night. The Lakers, for their part, can score at a strong clip, but their better performances often come when they are not trading wild runs and are instead getting organized looks, using their size and skill to grind through possessions. That sort of rhythm, combined with Denver's motivation to clean up their defense and the familiarity between these teams, leans toward a game that is more controlled than the raw averages might suggest. There is enough shot-making on both sides to avoid a slog, but not enough reason to expect an offensive fireworks show from start to finish. Taken together, it points more toward a total that lands under what is projected rather than one that completely blows past it. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. New Orleans Pelicans versus Sacramento Kings. The New Orleans Pelicans head into the Golden One Center to face the Sacramento Kings on Thursday night. This is one of those games where the matchup says as much about the state of the home team as it does about the visitor. Sacramento comes in on a brutal slide. The Kings have lost to the Lakers and the Suns, and they have the Bulls coming up next. They have dropped 18 of their last 20 games, which is the kind of stretch that drains confidence from a locker room fast. When a team loses that often, even home court stops feeling like a real advantage. The Pelicans have their own issues to sort through on the health front. They have ruled out DeJounte Murray, while Trey Murphy III and Zion Williamson are both listed as questionable. So their offense and rotations might look a little different depending on how those final decisions shake out. On the other side, the Kings are still patched together, with Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, DeAndre Hunter and Keegan Murray all ruled out. That is a lot of talent missing, and it shows in how flat they have looked. It is understandable not to feel thrilled about laying points on the road with the Pelicans. Road favorites with injury questions rarely feel like a safe investment, but the fact that they are still projected as the better side even with only 8 road wins, and with Murray out and possibly without Zion, really highlights just how rough things are in Sacramento. A team that is 23-38-2 against the spread is not just losing, it is also failing expectations on a nightly basis. The atmosphere around the Kings feels bleak. They look like a group counting the days until the schedule finally stops punishing them. That kind of mental fatigue matters almost as much as the bodies missing from the lineup. These teams have already seen each other this season, and that game spoke loudly. The Pelicans crushed the Kings 120-94 on February 9th, and nothing about the current situation suggests Sacramento has suddenly found new answers. The injury cloud over New Orleans adds a bit of uncertainty, sure, but if they have most of their main pieces available, they should still have the energy and talent to run past this short-handed Kings squad. Given how thin Sacramento is and how little fight they have shown during this long slump, it is hard to build a case for them keeping up for 4 full quarters. As our first pick for this matchup, the New Orleans Pelicans to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Pelicans' season numbers paint a clear picture of how their games tend to flow. They are averaging 114.8 points on 46.3% shooting while allowing 120.4 points on 47.8% shooting. They shoot 34.4% from 3 and 78.2% from the free throw line. They are giving up 35.1% from deep and pulling down 43.7 rebounds per game. So they can score fairly well, but they also allow plenty on the other end. The Kings' profile is not far off. They are averaging 110.1 points on 46.1% shooting and giving up 121.1 points on 49.6% shooting. From beyond the arc, they shoot 33.8% and hit 77.6% of their free throws. Defensively, they allow 36.5% from 3 and collect 41.4 rebounds per contest. In simple terms, both teams are more reliable at giving up clean looks than taking them away. When both defenses leak this much, games often tilt toward higher totals, especially when rotations are thin. Tired legs usually show up more on defense than on offense. You might see closeouts that are a step slow, late rotations in the paint, and second chance points piling up off long rebounds. Even if some stars are missing, the pace can still be lively, and role players often get more shots and play freer when expectations are lower. New Orleans has enough scoring depth to put up points even if 1 or 2 names are missing. Sacramento, for all their issues, still tends to play at a tempo that encourages possessions rather than grinding the clock down. Put that together with both teams' shaky defensive numbers and you are looking at a matchup that naturally leans toward a higher scoring environment. Barring an unexpected cold shooting night from both sides at the same time, the flow of this game points more toward a projection that gets pushed upward rather than dragged down. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.